If a hole is cross-threaded or completely stripped out, when you go to drive a bolt into it, it will just spin and spin and spin, no matter what you do at the bottom. And when you try to take it out, it won't even back its way out. So the hole here is completely strip smooth. Before you drill and tap, you need to be absolutely positively sure about the threads. I already used a thread gauge on this and a sizing chart, and I think it's a 6x1. So to double check, I'm going to grab the metric 6x1, and I'm going to try to just spin the bolt in there. And as you can see, it goes in with zero effort. Nothing is cutting, nothing is damaged. I know I've got the correct bolt. So it is a metric 6x1. So if you remember right, mine was an M6x1. I'm going to start with the drill bit. I'm going to chuck that in here. I'm going to spin this down and then crank it nice and tight. First, you want to add a little bit of PB Blast or WD-40 or something to the hole so that it's oiled. You're going to make sure that the drill is at low speed because we're not in a hurry. You got to make sure that it's pushed in for forward. You do not push hard while doing this. It is a gentle. You're going to make sure that it is vertical. And then as you're drilling, metal chips will come out. So we're also going to have vacuum on there the whole time we work because we don't want metal chips falling into the valves. You'll notice the drill bit is full of metal chips. Get a rag and clean them out before continuing. There will be a lot of metal chips. Try not to let them fall into the hole. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this guy clean. Get as much out as I can. And then usually I'll go through with the drill bit by hand and just thread it in once or twice more. Try to get out all the little bits of metal you can. And then you can also check the depth that you drilled to and make sure that's the same or more than the screw that's going into the hole. And in this case, we're fine because we also are going through the muffler. So I'm going to try to clean them out as much as I possibly can. Pull up drill bits, blow them out with compressed air, whatever we got handy before the next step. So I'm going to replace the drill bit back into the kit, and I'm going to grab this little guy, the tap, and I also need the tap handle to lock him into. Next up, the tap handle. This guy spins in and out to pinch tighter or looser. I'm going to put the square head of the tap in there and snug it down. Doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to hold it. As you can see, I had to remove the gas tank because I needed room for the handle to spin. So I'm going to start real gentle on here because it's easy to put this on at an angle or start it wrong. It takes very little force to get it going. I can see it cutting away metal flux down there, so I'm going to hit it with the vacuum while I work so I don't drop anything into the exhaust hole. If it starts getting hard to turn, that means metal shavings are packing up. I'm going to take it in reverse, keep the vacuum on there, and then start again. How deep do you need to go? You need to go far enough that the entire screw will be able to go into the threads you're cutting. In this case, I think I'm fine. So I'm going to take the tap all the way back out with vacuum on there the whole time so I don't drop any threads. At this point, I'm going to return the tap and I'm ready to pick out my piece that will twist the helicoil into place. So I'm going to get out one helicoil. There is an open end and an end with the tang. I'm going to make sure that the tang end is facing down. And then I'm going to loosen up this set screw and slide it till it's closer to the end. I am not tightening that much at all, just snug. That's it, not super tight. That looks good right there. So I've now adjusted that stop so that when I drop this piece over, it's got good engagement down there on the bottom. Fits through that slot. Getting it started on here is always going to be a bit of a struggle. You don't want to push too hard, but you also need to push a little harder than you think to help it get started and start going into that spiral. Once it gets going, it'll guide itself, but you still need a fair amount of force to get it to spin in. There we go. So now he's feeding down. I can just turn him like any other screw. If you feel like you're losing engagement, you might need to adjust the height of this little guy. So I'm going to make sure that I return the Allen wrench. Lives in there. I'm going to make sure I return the original tool to where it belongs. I'm going to make sure all of the extra helicoil inserts are also tucked into place. The last thing we need is this little guy, the punch tool. That punch tool is going to knock off the little piece that goes through the hole. So I'm going to drop them on there and just give them a sharp hit with something heavy. You probably can use the palm of your hand. And that theoretically should be all it takes. Don't be too gentle, you won't break off the tang. If you want to see if it worked, look down inside the hole and you should be able to see if that tang piece broke off or not. And in this case, I can see it's laying down there at the bottom. Just double check that we've got the drill bit, the tap, the insertion piece, and the tang breaker tool, the entire selection of threads, and also the set screws inside before we close anything up. After one more shot with the vacuum, I'm going to go ahead and thread the bolts back in, and this time they go nice and easy, and I can tell already that it's holding very well. And then I can treat it like any other threaded hole. That is using the helicoil. After you're done, it will actually be stronger than the original threads. So some people will do this on their own vehicles, not because they damaged a hole, but because they actually want the increase in strength of the threads. That's all.